Hello, welcome to Women Developing Brilliance. I'm Casey Rossi, your transformative business coach. It's my great pleasure to present interesting stories of creative women sharing their message and lighting up the world with their presence and offerings. Get ready to be inspired. You can learn more about creating a business that you love by visiting kcrossi.com. Enjoy. Hello, everyone. I am so excited to introduce my next guest. Her name is Kerry Jones, and she is the owner of Indigo Tones. She is a personal color analyst, and I am just thrilled to dive right in with her because she is a wealth of information. Welcome, Kerry.
Thanks, Casey. I'm happy to be here.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the world of color.
Well, as you said, I'm a personal color analyst, and I own a company called Indigo Tones. It's a studio in Pittsford, New York, outside of Rochester, New York, where I bring my clients in and I help them to find the right colors to wear. Everybody can wear every version of a color. It's just that your pinks and my pinks and your blues and my blues might be different. So I help them to find those perfect colors. And then a bigger part of what I do is I help them to educate them on how to wear the colors. And I also provide the services, the products that go along with the services. I started my career in human resources. I was a human resources generalist for a couple of decades. And during that time, I was doing a lot of training, a lot of interviewing, a lot of hiring. And I noticed that I really remembered people, or I didn't remember people based on what they were wearing. What someone came into an interview was incredibly impactful on my. And also, as I was training our line supervisors on how to, work through their career, what they also wore was very important. And so it was during that time when I was in HR that I had my own colors done in a way that was much, much, much more simplified and less scientific than the system that I use. Mm-hmm. So when it came time to decide, what I wanted to do going forward, I thought this is a tool people need, and there weren't a lot of people doing it. There was certainly no one in my area, my geography, that was doing anything like this. Wow. And they say the universe conspires to help you when you're on the right path. And I just sort of looked into it. I found someone who was a color specialist who gave me a little minimal training on color, and then lo and behold, the studio opened up, and then bam, I just hit the ground running.
Oh man, I love that. I love that you kind of just innately were drawn to people that were in their color scheme, that they made an impact on you, because color is so, so powerful. I'm wondering how you kind of help people, especially women entrepreneurs. I mean, because they're really the face of their business. How do you feel color and kind of when they're clicking in their right tones can have an impact on the success of their business?
Well, I think we all have had that experience of listening to music that's in harmony. We don't even necessarily know why we like it, but it feels right. It just, the whole overall effect of a great song makes us feel really good. I think that's what we experience when we see someone who is pulled together in their authentic colors, in their authentic shape and scale, and in their authentic style. And it's sort of the overall confidence that they can convey. And certainly if you're trying to build a business, if you're interacting with employees, colleagues, you want to feel confident. And so the majority of my clients come to me because they're looking to have a wardrobe that works for them. They're looking to feel that they're presenting themselves not as if they showed up, trying too hard or trying too little. They want to have that flow that we get when we hear a beautiful song that's in harmony.
I like that analogy. That's really cool. And, before I had my own personal color consultation with you, I always was drawn to color, and I would know, you're just exactly like you're saying, there would be this click if I saw someone and I'd be like, wow, they're so well put together, but there's something more. There's a radiance, there's a spark, whether it was a woman with shiny silver hair wearing teal and the perfect tone of purple. And I would be like, whoa, there's such a magnetism, of that whole kind of picture. So what I found really interesting on a personal note is really as women, we're told, or at least I was at a very young age, like black slenderizes. And I never realized how much that impacted what I chose to wear. And after coming to you and you were like, okay, it's time to ditch the black, I was like, what do you mean? That was such a core component of my wardrobe, whether it was black eyeliner or black clothing. And that I found so interesting. So I'd love it if you could speak to that a little bit.
Well, black is a color that doesn't actually really occur in nature like other colors. So, and there are people, a percentage, a quarter of my clients look fabulous in black, but they tend to have black in their coloring. They have black in their hair coloring. And what black does for those of us that it isn't beneficial for is it actually throws off that balance and it throws off that harmony. And it's so strong that it draws the attention to itself. So the idea that if you dress in black pants, it's going to make your legs look thinner is a misnomer, because if it's the thing that's out of harmony, it's the thing that's going to draw attention to itself. So black is an asset for a lot of people, but it really is a detriment. And for me, there's so much color out there in the world that brings us joy, that brings us energy, that brings us positive feelings. And there's a lot of negative attached to black. Mm-hmm. So from a philosophical perspective, I think we've toned ourselves down. We've defaulted to black because it's easy and it's what the fashion industry has promoted. And I think that it's just, in certain countries of the world, people aren't allowed to wear color. Well, my goodness, we have pure freedom to wear whatever colors we want to wear. And I think we should do it. Black, if you put black on somebody like me, who's got lighter hair and lighter colors, black is so harsh that it really brings out dark circles under my eyes. It brings out shadows around my mouth. It pulls away the attention from my hair and my eyes and my face. A better neutral for me is definitely gray and white. Mm-hmm. It's more harmonious with my overall coloring and with the colors in my closet. So my pinks will go better with gray than they will with black. So I don't know that everybody needs to think that they have to walk around in very, in color all the time. There's certainly other neutrals that are a wonderful alternative to black. Mm. And I love black on my really dark-haired, black-haired clients with really dark coloring. It's an asset for them, for sure.
It's so interesting. I find it completely fascinating. And I dove right in because I just thought, oh my goodness, if we can have a tool that can, one, boost our self-esteem, and two, allow us to feel more harmonious, like, of course, why would we grab for anything that's not going to serve us in the highest way? So I thought that this was just such a fantastic asset. I really think that everybody could boost their whole life, really, because when you feel good, everything kind of ripples from that core. And I love that you say you like to teach people how they show up in nature. So like connecting with the harmony of nature and their peace and how they show up in that. So I would love it if you could share a little bit about just color harmony in general and how that personally helps people kind of show up in nature with that kind of coordination.
Well, I do what's called a 12-tone seasonal color analysis. And the seasons of the year, the months of the year, are the framework for where people's colors fall. So for example, someone like me I have coloring that would be consistent with an early summer or June here in the Northeast. And the colors that you see in the landscape, in the peonies and the roses and the grass colors and all of those colors in nature are also the colors that look beautiful on me. Mm-hmm. And there's a whole order to the universe. There's a whole rhythm to the universe. And as we move from one month to another, as we move through the seasons of the year, we have different harmonies associated with them. So when we look outside in the spring and we see daffodils and tulips and forsythia and lilacs, those reds and greens and yellows and purples and blues that we see in the spring that work beautifully together are different from the reds and greens and purples and blues that we're going to see certainly in October, but they still work perfectly together. Mm. And as human beings, our personal coloring falls right in with the natural coloring of the of all the colors out there that we see in nature. It's really profound how much you can see it. And the fashion industry also follows through on that too. They present those colors as we move through those months of the year. There's a rhythm to wanting to put on lighter colors, certainly in the later seasons of the year, and deeper tones in the deeper seasons of the year.
Yeah, that is so fascinating. And you're right. Like nature has this coordination that I think man in general has tried to replicate, you know, like you talked about the lilacs and the peonies and the daffodils, and just that just kind of bursted this whole visualization in my mind. And it's so invigorating. I scuba dive as well. And I always feel like if I am stunted in any type of creativity, if you go down under and you see the colors of the coral and the beautiful lilacs and lavenders and chartreuses and tangerines, it's just like, oh my gosh, there's no way that you can't come up totally reinvigorated by just getting that burst and saturation of color.
Yeah, and color is energy. It's pure energy. And when we present ourselves in color out there in the world, we become part of that natural rhythm. We become part of it. We enhance it. We make the world a better place by showing up in color, in our color, for sure.
I love that. I think that's fantastic. So could you share like maybe what type of person comes for this service, and also the transition, like what is maybe a big aha that you saw where someone just really made this turnaround transition after they had a consultation with you?
Well, my typical client is actually someone who, you know, they're not necessarily the people who love shopping and who love fashion and they love all that. It's the ordinary person who feels overwhelmed by shopping, by putting together a wardrobe. You know, I see a lot of teachers, say, who are in front of children all day, or they're in front of students all day, and they want their message to be heard, and they don't want their clothing to be a distraction. They want their wardrobe to work for them. Oftentimes, my clients have a budget, and so they just want to simplify. And another big reason why I got into this business was not because I was into fashion. I'm not into fashion. I'm not into trends. But what I love is the idea that by having knowledge of what colors work for you and what your style is, you can simplify your life by having a more limited wardrobe where everything in it works and everything in it goes with everything else. So you need much less, and you have to do less shopping, and you don't have to feel so overwhelmed by the prospect. A lot of times people know one color that looks great on them, and they're like, that's my color. I know that. I'm going to wear that. But what a color analysis does is it opens up a world of more. Some people might be a little resistant, like, oh, I'm going to get restricted. But what they find is the opposite happens. All of a sudden now, they know which greens, they know which yellows, they know which pinks, they know which purples. And so something that they might never have considered before, they will. And so I get lots and lots. The big ahas, I will say, the biggest ahas are almost always where I'm telling them to be more of who they are and less of what a fashion magazine says or what the trends are, because those things come and go and they're not really that important. What's important is that we all understand who we are uniquely and that we enhance that, because what nature gives us is way beyond what we could do by trying to modify that. And my hair is a perfect example. I fought my curly hair for years and years and years. I tried straightening it. It never, in the humidity, it would just get bigger and frizzier. And when I finally just gave in and let it be curly and let myself wear my colors, it all kind of came together. And what I think people realize is that being closer to their natural hair color, being closer to what their natural hair does, wearing the colors that work for them, just simplifies everything.
It does.
So much effort and energy into resisting what we're given naturally. And it's almost like a freedom in, oh my goodness, this is who I really am. And this feels better.
It does. I love that you just said that, because whenever we're in alignment, there's flow. And so this is just another aspect to kind of have things be simplified and be in that rhythm and experience flow. And you're right. I think in the beginning, people may have resistance, whether they're trying to straighten your hair. And I chuckled because I can totally relate, And so you're right. We spend a lot of time resisting or trying to squeeze in something that's just not right for our body type or a color, because we have this conception that it's supposed to be glamorous, and on you it's really not. So you're right, it just completely simplifies. I know when I got my little swatch book, which I hope you talk about that, because they're absolutely beautiful, and I think it's just a really cool creative thing that you designed as you got deeper into your business. But when I got this little beautiful embroidered swatch book, I was like a little kid. I was like taking it to my best girlfriends, and I was like, look at this, it's so cool, and I was like matching it up to everything everywhere, and it was just really super fun. And the other thing that I thought was extremely interesting is I went through a whole rebranding at the top of this year in 2018. And the consultant that I used had no idea of any of my personal colors or anything, but totally developed my brand palette based on my core values and my message and kind of my ideal clients. It's exactly matching the color swatch for my personal analysis from you. So it's like, okay, this is interesting. Like you said, the universe conspires to kind of make everything flowing and easy and coordinated. So it's incredible.
Yes, it is. And when people feel that their wardrobe works, they don't have the angst about spending the money either. It's like spending money smarter rather than spending money willy-nilly. I think a lot of people have, their biggest struggle is they have closets full of clothes that they aren't wearing, which creates a burden. It creates another energy block. And they feel kind of guilty about it. And, they're willing to buy things. They just buy things because they're on sale, or they buy things because it's the latest trend, or I just need something for Friday night. But when you know what your colors are, you can slow down. You can say, I'm going to invest in this because I know it's perfect for me, and it's going to be sitting there waiting for me when I need it. And so I view building the wardrobe too as like having a collection of things, and everything I add into my wardrobe enhances the collection. And there's no more guilt or fear or whatever. It's just everything that's in there works, and it's seamless and it's flow, like you said.
And who can't use more of that in their life, It's really, really awesome. So you've been in business for how long? You opened in 2004?
Yes. And I've been in my studio since 2005. So almost 14 years.
That's incredible. And so I would love it if you could share maybe some history of kind of being a solopreneur with a brick and mortar business, and maybe an example of a struggle that you've experienced as a business owner and how you overcame that.
So actually, Casey, I want to grab my swatch book, but it's in the other room, because this was one of my biggest hurdles, my biggest obstacles, but ultimately has been my biggest reward. So can we put it on pause for 1 sec?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I should have had it with me. Okay, I'll be right back.
Okay, good.
Sorry, that was a mistake.
It's okay.
Okay. All right. Are you ready?
Yes.
So building my business was a challenge. First of all, there was very limited training. It wasn't like my industry was well established where there was a consistency or there was a consistent way to go about it. So I got minimal training in color, and the person that trained me knew a lot about color, but didn't really know a lot about running a business or how to be a personal color analyst or have a personal color analysis business. So a lot of it was just tapping into my own sense of what I would want and how I would want to be treated, and what, the kinds of services that I would want. and also tapping into my background in the HR field. I also spent 10 years in the restaurant business and every kind of role, lots and lots of customer service. And at the time that I opened my studio, I was also very involved in the community with my children, in their education, in their church, and in the community. So tapping into a lot of my resources, I found that almost everything I needed was somewhere in my backyard.
I love that.
Yeah, the people that helped me with my branding, the people that helped me with all kinds of things were right there. I didn't have to go very far, and that was a big lesson that I learned. I learned a lot from mistakes. I tried different things. I collaborated with a lot of different types of businesses, which was a great way to get started early on. But when it really boiled down to it, I found that the collaborations with artists, people who own consignment shops, people who were interested in the artistic end of it or the simplicity of it, seemed to work really, really well. I didn't find, I would go down certain avenues like getting involved with the wedding business. And that didn't seed into anything at the time. Now, maybe now would be the time. But one of the biggest challenges, hands down the biggest challenge, was the woman that trained me, whose name was Catherine Kaliz, and she had a company called SciArt. She made these really nice swatch books that I used to give my clients, and they were in perfect color harmony. She worked for the Munsell Color Institute and Color Harmony. She was tragically killed over 10 years ago, and that left me and some other people that were doing color analysis with no swatch book, which you can't do color analysis without it. And so I stepped out and decided I'm going to make my own swatch books. I live in Rochester, New York, which is the image capital of the world. And I went to companies like Kodak and Rochester Institute of Technology and Xerox and all these places if I could get help printing a similar kind of swatch book. And it just wasn't together. And I had a major light bulb moment where I thought, well, people really like to shop, and they're shopping for fabric. And so swatch books should be fabric also. But the fabric swatch books that I'd seen that were maybe something from the 80s, they faded. They just didn't seem to hold up. So I thought, why not do thread? And I created these absolutely gorgeous embroidered swatch books.
They are beautiful.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of colors. They're all in perfect color harmony. Again, they all match the Munsell. They all match the Munsell color science theory. And these are my colors. So
gorgeous.
Has a group of neutrals, which would be the colors that someone would find in their natural hair color. These are the colors, like I said before, that I would wear as my base colors. And then we see my reds, my greens, my purples, my blues, my yellows. And then there's also these beautiful metallics for jewelry and for threads and things like that. Mm-hmm. So my swatch books it was a very, very, very challenging proposition to design them, to develop them, to find them, source the materials, to source the person that would do the labor. But I did it. And they are so much more beautiful and so much more than anything I could have ever imagined. And I'll tell you something, nothing jazzes me up more than when I get an order on my web store for a swatch book from some other place in the world. This morning I got an order and it's just like, oh, somebody in Switzerland is buying one of my swatch books that I created.
Oh, that is so cool. I mean, I love it. So you really kind of took the torch as the pioneer in the personal color world.
Absolutely. I was scoping around online the other day, and somebody did the history of personal color analysis, and I'm on it.
Oh, congratulations. That's amazing.
That was super fun. But yes, these are incredibly unique. There are other swatch books out there, but these are incredibly unique.
I love mine. I think it's fantastic. How long of a process was it from that kind of tragedy of hearing the news of the passing away of your mentor, all the way through the gyrations of all the research and pounding the pavement to the end result of this beautiful, unique kind of creation, this tool?
It took a good 2 years at least. And there were stop and starts. I went down one path and I had to turn around and come back. And then I went down another path, or, I went with I tried to get some people to help me that just, it was beyond their scope. I had to turn around and come back. So there was a lot of stop and starts. But ultimately, you know, the vision was there, and I loved working with the color. I loved working with the fiber. I loved the sense of, you know, the sense of it. And I knew that it was going to be a better product than anything else had out there.
So that's what kept you motivated. I mean, through kind of the trials and tribulations, because 2 years, that's a long process. I'm really happy that you said that, because for our listeners, when they hit a stumbling block, sometimes they expect it to be rectified in 2 days, or at the most, God forbid, 2 months. But 2 years, I think many people just naturally kind of lose momentum. So can you share a little bit? You did talk a little bit about your inspiration with color, but what kind of kept you through? Like, maybe we have a listener that's in the middle of something that's just, they want to beat their head up against the wall and it's just not working. What kind of advice do you have for something that starts out exciting and you have your passion, but just is taking longer than you think it should take?
Well, I at the end of the day, I knew at this point in my business, I'd been doing it long enough to know it works and I'm helping people. And oh my gosh, this is something that, you know, in my lifetime, I hope will be a rite of passage. But I knew it worked, and I knew that I was impacting people, and I couldn't do that without a swatch book. And so it was critical. It's the number one thing that has to happen. You know, it's very, very, very critical. So it was kind of a no-brainer in that I got to have a way to get people their colors. And I think I just knew that I had a really good idea and it was viable, and I just didn't give up. Even if people said, "Oh, we can't make this, it can't be done," I just didn't give up because I knew it was viable. And some things were coming together. I was finding the right materials. I was constantly aware that this was going to be good. And I didn't stress over, like, there was money that was wasted, of course, but it was all part of the learning process. And it was all part of the cost of creating something that was really good.
That's a really good point. That is always a factor, and you just have to swallow it and know it's a part of the process.
Yes. And I liked the idea of being a pioneer. I don't consider myself as much as an entrepreneur as I do a pioneer, because I was doing something completely different than what anybody else was. There were other people trying to do something, but they were trying to recreate what was already there. And I really thought, if I can do this, and I can, it's going to be something really different, and it's going to be something amazing. And what happened is these swatch books are not just sold to people who've had their colors done or who are looking to figure out their colors. They're sold to artists. They're sold to interior designers. I sell them to a variety of different people for a variety of different reasons. And so now they've become a tool for artists.
Absolutely. I mean, that was the first thing that I thought of. Like, when I came home after my appointment with you, I looked in my living room and I was like, I need a swatch book for my living room. You know, I mean, it's such a beautiful tool. I love that you just had so much conviction and self-confidence to know I'm creating something that's never been done before, and I know that it's going to work. I think having that 100% faith is kind of the staff that allows you to kind of walk that bumpy road. So it's so inspirational. And I mean, it's a tool that really, it's so cool that you got an order from Switzerland. It's a tool that helps people kind of around the world. And like you said, not just in the personal arena, but in art and interior design. And it's so cool. I love it. I love it. It's awesome. So what do you do to kind of prevent burnout? Because 14 years in business, that's a pretty chunky amount of time to be a solopreneur. What kind of things do you do to keep yourself balanced and inspired?
Well, I'm really, really particular about my schedule. I know that I'm a morning person. I know that I want to give 100% when I'm in a color analysis. And I know, for example, I can't do color analysis in the evening. The lighting isn't right. I'm not fresh. And so I just say no. And, you know, there's a lot of people who work and want to come in for hair appointments or color appointments in the evening. And I just say, no, I can't do it. And that's a huge part of my self-care. I definitely balance my time in the studio, working with clients and doing the color analysis with time spent in my home office, working on administrative and marketing kinds of things. Because I also sell, I don't just do the personal color analysis. I have my own line of cosmetics. I have the swatch books. I have nail polish. I have clothing. I have, some other accessories and things in the studio. There's a lot of balance in terms of the day in, day out activities. So it's not doing the same thing every single day, day in and day out. And some days I just like to process my inventory. And some days I like to be hands-on, I definitely go out and do a lot of speaking engagements in my community and elsewhere. And I find that, I balance that too. I need to do at least a few each month, but if I do too many, it's too much. It's also, so I manage my schedule really, really carefully.
That's awesome. So you tune into yourself, like whether you need to be kind of bringing in your energy, like we talked about color even, you bring in your energy and constrict, or when you need that kind of balance to be more exuberant and outward. That's really cool. I like that a lot. That's awesome. And I love your cosmetic line. I think that in what part of your business did you know it's time to diversify? Like, I've got this part going on, and you just seem to kind of keep adding. You sound like a one-stop shop for people with the clothing and jewelry and accessories and so forth. At what part did you bring in the all-natural cosmetic line?
Well, when I first started, I didn't even want to do cosmetics. I was like, we're just, this isn't about makeup and that kind of thing. But I realized quickly, within months of starting the business, that you can't wear your colors and then have cosmetics on that aren't in harmony either. And so the initial part of the business was working with other people's cosmetic lines. And there's lots of wonderful cosmetics out there. But what I was finding is I'd find a lipstick that was great, and then it would be discontinued. And then I was also finding that I couldn't control the ingredients that were in there. And so developing my own line of cosmetics meant I had control over the formulas and the colors. I had control over whether or not I've never discontinued anything. And I have a line of cosmetics that has no junk in it. They're non-toxic. And then I can control the ingredients. They're vegan.
So smart. So smart. And I actually love your line. I picked up a couple products. I think from a business standpoint, it's just such a natural shoe-in because one, it's a service to the client. It's a convenience, but it's also an augment as a solopreneur. It's like, what's another add-on that I can continue to kind of build the revenue for my business. So it was such a smart move for you. I'm actually wearing Snapdragon right now for the lipstick. I love it. And that's the natural ingredients is what kind of drew me to you. So it was like, oh, well, yeah, this is a no-brainer. Like I have a professional that just did a color analysis. And so now I can just kind of coordinate what's going to work. And it made a huge difference. Like you did a before and after picture of the consultation. And it was a dramatic difference because I came in with a black shirt and I left like with new makeup and you put me in kind of a Kelly green. And I was like, that is a pretty dramatic transformation.
It really is. And I think everything was evolving. I realized, like I said, quickly that wearing minimal cosmetics, but the right cosmetics was critical. And then the swatch books, I already told that story. They were imperative. You have to have the swatch book in order to shop and in order to pick the right. But then I realized that people really want to shop by their colors. I love shopping in consignment shops and used clothing and things. And as my clients were cleaning out their closets, they had all these great clothes that, could be perfect for somebody else. So I got involved in a charity event where we did a clothing swap, and my clients were there, and they would bring their colors, and we'd swap and get everything done by the seasonal tone.
Cool.
And that, unfortunately, the organizers of that event were no longer able to do it, but the concept was there, and the demand was there, and so. Really, really, and I just, again, I hate waste. I want people to look good and feel good and not spend a lot of time and money on their closets. But, I want people to have the right stuff. And so this was a way kind of to source some simple, basic clothing to help my clients to develop, to build their wardrobe. You get a couple of really great shirts and you're on your way. And so that was just kind of a natural add-on, adding the clothing line. And really the way that it works now is my clients can click on my web store and they can go to their seasonal tone, like you're a warm spring, and they can click on warm spring and they can see all the cosmetics, all the clothes, the nail polish, the
So
swatch.
convenient. It's so convenient. I love it. It's amazing. I love that you're kind of simplifying the process for people, but it opens up this whole new world to kind of just feel better and play and kind of tap into that inner child and nurture ourselves. I mean, I think like when we take time, whether it's to pamper ourselves with high quality cosmetics or it's self-care again. So I really feel like you're perpetuating such goodness, and you're clearly a creative. I mean, it's amazing. I love it. I love that you're sharing your gifts with everyone. How can people get a hold of you, and what is coming up on your docket that people can get excited about?
Well, I have a lot of information on my website, indigotones.com.
Awesome.
You know, getting a color analysis done, usually it's a one-time thing. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. So there's a lot of content on my website so that people can explore. You know, there's lots and lots of testimonials. I find that's another thing that's so inspiring. When I do a person's color analysis and then a couple weeks later, they tell me, oh my gosh, I went to work and everybody is raving about what I'm wearing. They want to know what I did, what's going on. Those kinds of testimonials are what keeps me going every single day. I got a handwritten note yesterday who went into this not really knowing what to expect. And he took the time to write me a handwritten letter about his experience doing it.
That's awesome.
And I know he came because he spent a lot of time on my website looking. So one of the things that I have found over the last however many years is that people get a lot of information in the color analysis, but then they want a little more information. Okay, so now I've been doing this for a while, you know, help me even more. And a lot of it is visual. So I'm really, really excited. I've been working on some educational modules for each of the seasonal tones. So and those modules have lots more content about how to do those colors with your individual style, and lots more content that's going to become available hopefully within the next 6 months or so. Those should all be available. And some additional course classes. I'm being asked a lot to do some training, not only on the color harmony and personal color analysis, but on how to maybe dress to enhance your professional career. And so those modules are going to become available too.
Wow. Well, we're going to definitely look forward to that. I will share your link to Indigo Tones in the show notes. It's just such a fascinating field. And it's something that like once you kind of get bit by the color bug, you're just like all about it because it's really fun and it makes you feel better. And people feel good around you. Like it's just kind of this really amazing alignment thing that happens. So thank you, Kerry, so much. You've been an inspiration. I love what you do. I think your work's incredible. I highly recommend you being a personal client. And I think that really everyone can benefit from a personal color analysis. It's incredible. If you haven't tried it, I highly recommend it. And thank you so much, Kerry, for taking time out of your busy schedule and sharing your work.
Thank you, Casey. It was awesome. It was a pleasure. Love
Talk to
working.
you soon. Yes, you too. Bye.